Good morning. Friday, right before Shabbat. I wanted to give a thought on Parashat Vayishlach. And remember, we have our big reveal coming up next week. But I wanted to talk about our forefather Jacob. This week's Parsha talks about our forefather Jacob, and an angel actually comes and gives him a second name, the name of Yisrael, Israel. And the commentators ask, what does this word Yisrael, Israel, mean? On the forefront, it has the root word sar. Sar means an authoritative figure, meaning a person of prominence. He was raised to a level of prominence because of the great deeds that he did in his life and the great things that he accomplished. He was raised to a level of prominence. However, there's a deeper idea behind the name Yisrael or Israel that the deeper sources tell us. And that is, the word Yisrael is really an acronym. It stands for, Yisrael is spelled Yud, Shin, Reish, Aleph, Lamed. And that stands for Yesh, Shishim, Rivo, Otiot, La Torah. Yesh, Shishim, Rivo, Otiot, La Torah means there are 600,000 letters in the Torah. So the name Israel, if you do each beginning letter, comes out to the word, it makes the sentence, there are 600,000 letters in the Torah. What does this mean exactly? Well, and what does that have to do with Yisrael? So it goes like this. There are really, truthfully, only 304,000 letters in the Torah. However, the sages tell us that why are there called 600,000 letters in the Torah? Because if you actually sounded out the words that made up these 304,000 letters, if you sounded them up, spelled them as they sound, you would actually come to 600,000 letters. More so than that, 600,000 always, the deep sources tell us, refer to the number of Jewish souls in the world. Even though there are many Jewish people, much more than 600,000, there's an idea that there are 600,000 Jewish souls in the world, always. And there could be variations, but it's a deep idea of this number of 600,000. Where the number first appears is the number of Jews that left Egypt was 600,000, the Torah tells us. And the Torah tells us, the deep sources at that place is that that's the letters of the Torah, if you spelled out the words as they sound. And number two, it's the amount of souls that there are amongst the Jewish people. So again, what does this, there are 600,000 letters in the Torah, have to do with the name Israel? And it goes like this. If you recall, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, our forefathers, Abraham had two children. One of them was not a good child, and one of them was a good child. And we come from Isaac, one of his good children. Isaac also, he had one good child and one bad child. One good child was Jacob, one bad child was Esav. But it turns out that Jacob, who had 12 children, they all were good children and they all got along. Abraham's children didn't get along. Isaac's children didn't get along, but Jacob's children, not only were they all good, but they all got along. And there's something to be said for that. When the tribes themselves, that they were the 12 tribes, went to Israel, they all specialized in different things. Zevulun was a merchant. And the other tribes, Yisachar, they were the Torah scholars, and so on and so forth. Everybody did their own thing, so to speak. However, they all got along and they were all part of a greater whole. So if you recall, during this time, there's been a lot before the election, before we voted. I've never heard so many calls and gotten so many calls and heard so many things about even family members not talking because one is voting for this side, one is voting for that side, or whatever it is. It's been a very difficult time, especially amongst the Jewish people. And I think right now is the time for everybody to come together. What does it mean that there are 600,000 letters in the Torah? And that's the acronym for Jacob's name, Yisrael. Yisrael means there are 600,000 letters in the Torah. It means just as there are 600,000 letters in the Torah, there are 600,000 souls amongst the Jewish people. What does that mean? It means that a Sefer Torah, a Torah scroll, is only kosher if all of the letters are there. If it's missing even one letter, the Torah scroll is pasul. It's invalid. You cannot use it on Shabbat. But it's only missing one letter. And the same is true for the Jewish people. There are 600,000 souls, so to speak, amongst the Jewish people. That's representative of the Jewish people as a whole. And if there's one Jewish person that's not amongst the multitude of the Jewish people, it's like the Jewish people is lacking, just like a Sefer Torah, just like the Torah scroll. So we have to understand that just as a Torah scroll is only kosher in as much as it has all its letters, so too the Jewish people are only whole if we have unity amongst the 600,000 souls, amongst everybody. During this time, it's been a very challenging time for Jews to come together and have unity based on, I'm voting for this person, I'm voting for that person, and many other reasons. And this is prominent and it's understood. However, now is the time after the election for the Jewish people to come together and to realize that we are the Bnei Yisrael. Just like Jacob had 12 sons and they all got together and they did different things. All of them were very different, but yet they had unity amongst themselves. We have to remember that we are the Bnei Yisrael. We are the children of Israel, and Israel stands for 600,000 letters in the Torah. Just like if there's one letter missing, the Sefer Torah is invalid. So too, if one Jew is missing, meaning if there's not unity amongst us as a whole, then also there's lacking amongst the Jewish people. So I give everybody a bracha to have a Shabbat Shalom. Now during coronavirus, it's very hard for everybody to get together, but at least in thought, we need to get together and we need to be together in all ways.